Let's set things straight first. The new Captain America Civil War movie is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, also known as MCU, a shared universe created by Marvel Studios, designated as Earth 199,999, within Marvel's multiverse system. The universe is comprised mainly of films independently made by Marvel Studios, that are always set within the same universe, much like Marvel has done with their comics. It means that the general premise kind of stays the same, but changes are always present. Of course we can find our favorite Marvel characters, or at least we can find the ones Marvel still has the filming rights for.
Who can say where the road goes?
Because of this, there are several notable differences between the movie and the original Civil War comic event from 2006 by writer Mark Millar and artist Steve McNiven. From the heroes and villains involved to the ramifications and the conclusion of the war. In the comic book, a group of young, D-list superheroes called the New Warriors attempts to take down a villain named Nitro while filming a reality TV show. Things go sideways when Nitro uses his powers to create an enormous explosion, destroying several city blocks and causing the deaths of many civilians. The New Warriors don't exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so in the events of Captain America Civil War, it's more of a series of several superhero incidents that claimed civilian lives. Both the comic and the movie feature a fight over superhero registration, but in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there are no real secret identities on the Avengers team, so that pivotal element from the comic played no part. In the comic, there was also S.H.I.E.L.D.'s intention to hunt down all unregistered superheroes, but seeing how there aren't many superheroes in the MCU, the movie made it more about capturing the Winter Soldiers, Captain America's buddy brainwashed to be Hydra's pawn. In the movie, the superhero Civil War only ignites because the villainous Zemo executes an elaborate plan, but in the comic, there is no evil mastermind behind it all. It's an actual war of ideals between superheroes, with no one pulling the strings. And while we are talking about Zemo, in the movie he's a Sokovian colonel, so he's barely recognizable to his comic version, who is a Hydra Nazi that fights with a sword and wears a pink sock for a mask. In the comic, Team Iron Man recruits a team of reformed supervillains called the Thunderbolts, led by Zemo. This was important because it showed just how far they had fallen to try and win the war. In the movie, the MCU's other villains are out of commission or just plain dead, so this twist just wasn't possible. Hulk was absent in both versions, although for different reasons. In the comics, he was shot into space by the Illuminati, a group formed by the most famous and most powerful heroes on Earth, because they thought he was too dangerous. Whereas in the MCU, he went off the grid by choice at the end of Avengers: Age of Ultron. As for Thor, he wasn't in the movie, but in the comics he played a surprising role, sort of. He had been presumed dead for a while, so it was a huge shock when he appeared in a flash of lightning during a pivotal battle and began fighting for Iron Man's side. Turns out it wasn't the real Thor, but an overly aggressive cyborg clone that Team Iron Man created, so it looked like Thor was on their side. In the movie, no superheroes died, but in the comics, aside from the New Warrior's death at the beginning, Goliath was killed when cyborg Thor went out of control. This real tragic consequence to the superheroes fighting was mirrored somewhat in the movie, when Vision accidentally shoots down War Machine, leaving Rodney paralyzed. The size of the movie's cast is impressive, but it still pales in comparison to the roster from the book. Most noticeable is the absence of the Fantastic Four. Fox owns the screen rights to the Fantastic Four and has no interest in sharing custody of the characters with Marvel. The same rights issue goes with the X-Men. In the movie, Captain America's team included Falcon, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Winter Soldier. In the comics, he was joined by dozens of other heroes. Although Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye were not part of the conflict due to the events of Avengers Disassembled and House of M, Hawkeye died sacrificing himself, and Scarlet first changed the world into one of only mutants, and then lost her memories after changing reality back. As for Iron Man, his movie team consisted of Black Panther, Vision, Black Widow, War Machine, and Spider-Man. In the comics, Iron Man had tons of heroes and villains on his side, with Mr. Fantastic and Yellow Jacket helping him lead. However, Vision fought for Captain's side, although this was the younger version of the character, the real one being dead at the time. Black Panther also stayed out of the conflict until Goliath was killed, which compelled him to stand with Captain against Iron Man. In the movie, Tony Stark recruits Spider-Man and gives him a new suit, enlisting him to help stop Captain America. In the comics, Spider-Man acts as the relatable everyman caught in the middle, revealing his identity and registering in support of Iron Man. However, seeing Goliath's death and imprisonment of his fellow heroes, Spider-Man goes to Captain America's side. In the movie, it was Black Widow who had a change of heart. The comic book featured a true superhero war with hundreds of characters and massive battles. The movie, on the other hand, was more of a brawl than a war, with a grand total of 6 heroes on each side. By the end, the movie wound up shelving the registration argument, instead focusing on the hunt for Zemo and the tragedy between Iron Man and the Winter Soldier, none of which was in the comic. When it was all said and done, Iron Man's side won and Cap's side became fugitives, which is about the same as the comics. So the only big difference is that the movie ends on a positive note because Cap is still out there fighting the good fight, whereas in the comic it's pretty depressing because Iron Man won, the real heroes were forced into hiding, and Captain America died.